Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Lindsay from Cheshire in the UK, and my channel name is Stash Queen 08. If anybody knows if I can change that, I'd be very grateful if you could let me know, because I don't particularly want to be known as that. I'd rather be Cheshire Stitcher or something like that. I've been stitching now for a little bit over 32 years. That's a lifetime. I started with the long defunct Needlecraft magazine. I'd gone into the village for something one Sunday and walked into the paper shop and spotted this magazine, and it said patchwork on it. So I picked it up because at the time that's what I did. And when I say patchwork, I mean English paper piecing, not patchwork done on a machine. It's the old-fashioned traditional way over papers. So I bought this magazine, and it had a cover kit on it of a little teddy bear holding some flowers. And I thought, oh, it's there, I'll give it a go. It took me 3-4 days to do it. I kept ripping it out. I did it wrong. I did it over 4 blocks instead of 4 holes, and it in the end it suddenly clicked. And I finished him, put him in a little hoop. There we go, there he is, still all these years later. He hangs above my beading desk now. Please do excuse the state of my nails, they're in desperate need of being done. I love him to this day. He's what started me on my cross-stitch journey. And I know we don't normally show our backs, but considering it was my first ever project, wasn't that bad really, you know. Didn't have a clue what I was doing, followed the instructions in the magazine, got there in the end. It wasn't too bad. But there he is, my little bear. I love my little bear. So I'll do a whip parade, shall I? Although this is the only time I will call them whips. Mine are PhDs, not projects half done as most people call it. Mine are potential happy dances, because let's face it, when we finish something, we do a little happy dance. So they're all potential happy dances. So, I hope you're ready for this. There's a lot. I've put them in order of when I started them, simply because then I haven't got to try and remember where I'm up to on my list. I can just go down my list. So, my first one is Egyptian Sampler by Teresa Wentzler. Now, many moons ago, when Teresa Wentzler's bulletin board was in full swing, I was the moderator for the Egyptian Sampler. There we go, that's how far I got. And it was always a joy when somebody started, because everybody started and you ended up with mummy feet. So there was always a bit of, yay, more mummy feet. I haven't ironed anything, because, you know, I'd have been there forevermore and a day. So there we go. That's how far I've got on Egyptian Sampler in probably 20 years. It's one of them things, I will do it eventually. I will get back to all of my projects at some point. I've got every intention. I've gotten rid of the very few that I've fallen out of love with. And I do apologise, there's going to be a lot of crinkling and rustling and zips, and because otherwise I'll never get anywhere. Right, so my second one is more of a needlepoint, and it's Nova by Ginny Moreau Designs. And this is where I'm at. Now, as you can see, I've got hematite beads on here. Now, I started this in 2004. So I have, from at least 2004, been using needle minders way before they became a thing. And there's the proof. I have them on there. again, this is one of those ones I will get back to it. I go through phases of I will pull it out and I will work on it, and I aim to do like a block a day, and then I'll do it and I get fed up and put it away again. So that's with number 2, PhD number 2. PhD number 3 is this dragon. I've always been a fan of dragons. I don't know why, I just have. And here's how he looks now. Again, he was started in 2004. One of the things that put me off more than anything with this was the chart, the size of the chart. It's humongous. And at the time, it never occurred to me that I could get an A3 copy. So I had all these little A4 copies taped together, and it just really got on my nerves. So I didn't work on him that much. Now I know about such things as A3 photocopies, because I always make a working copy, which gets destroyed. I will take it down to the local stationery shop and get it copied at some point, and then he will come out and he will be worked on. So, right, my next one was started in 2006. I had a spate of working on silver linings. So it's Orchids for Coal. And this one, it happens to be, I'm very lucky, it was signed. But I have a friend of mine was in touch with Marking a Starstead quite a lot, and she got me a signed copy. So, but that's it. That's as far as it got. And as I say, that was 2006 I started that. If I can remember fabrics or anything like that, I will tell you. Pretty sure this is the old 30 count Murano from Zweigart. Yes, they did used to do a 30 count Murano, and I bought tons of it when I could, when they were discontinuing it. Lovely fabric to work on. Right, next up, this was my birthday start in 2006. Find my picture. Where's my picture? And that is Enchanter by TW. Again, has a dragon on it. Very, very much into my dragon stitching back then. And here's where I got to. Nope, go on, faff around a bit. I do apologise. I'm not a very organised person. Should have got a board or something out ready. So there's my Enchanter. Doing quite well. What I tend to do is, because borders are big, is do a bit of the middle, do a bit of the border, do a bit of the middle, do a bit of the border, and so on. Again, another one that this one was a kit rather than one I kitted up myself. Again, I will get back to them someday. You'll notice as we go through that I've got quite a few TWs. Next up is another silver lining. This time it is Crimson Poppies. And again, this is one that every once in a while I will pull it out when I do a stitch along each weekend with my friend Jeanette, who lives a mile and a half away. We very rarely manage to actually get together to stitch together, but we do a stitch along every weekend. And frequently in between projects we will do a few weeks of a UFO. So this has come out a few times for that. There we go, there's my Crimson Poppies. Now, I know a lot of people do parking, and I can't be doing with the faff of all of that. So those ones that you can see where I've kind of just gone higgledy-piggledy is because there was too much for me to jump, because I don't mind jumping a few stitches, but I won't jump huge amounts. But there was still a lot of thread left, and there was more of them further on, so I sorry about that. I just tend to sort of part my thread as best I can. Right, next we have Noah's sub. Lots of us started this at the same time in 2007. And I always thought, oh, I'll get that finished for when I have grandchildren. I have 5 grandsons. If I was to do this, I would have to stitch it 5 times. If I was going to do it for the grandsons, that's not going to happen. So, again, it'll be finished, but it'll be finished for me, because I started it because I loved it. And I really should pull it out and work on it some more. There we go. So that's my Noah's sub. Long, long way to go, as you can see. You can see, look, the fabric is, just tell you what, look. That's half the width. It's huge. I used to do quite a lot of big projects. Not full coverages as such. Although Noah's sub is a full coverage one, really. I'm not my style has changed over the years. And, excuse me. Yes, my drink is blue. These days, you won't catch me doing a Mirabilia unless it's something that I've been asked to do and I'm being paid for doing it. I don't like stitching faces. I don't do full coverage because they just don't hold appeal to me. I am very much a stitch what I feel like stitching when I feel like stitching it. Although at the moment that's not quite what I can do. So next started in 2007 and it was quite possibly my birthday start. We have the castle, again by TW. And yes, I know dragons are no longer available. Now mine, I am doing, and this was gotten from the old TW bulletin board, a purple dragon. There we go. So I've pretty much finished the rocks at the bottom around his tail. I've still got a lot to do the other side of his tail, so sort of here. And again, it's one I pull out every once in a while and do a little bit on. I'm hoping I need to sort of start pulling my socks up and getting some of these older things finished, because, you know, 2007 I started it. It's 2023, so it's like 16 years old. It's about time I got my backside into gears. Did it. Right, next up is another needlepoint design. This one is by Orna Willis, called Tessellations. And I haven't gotten that far with this. There we go. Now, I was buying the thread packs for this monthly, and stuff happened. And I didn't get the last 3 individually. I ordered the last 3 all at once. And the company I bought them off sent them to me in a paper envelope. The cases that all the threads were in for each one was plastic. So guess who didn't get one of her packs? So at some point in the future, I'm going to have to see if I can track down those threads, because according to the company, they can't get them anymore. or they didn't have any more thread packs, even though I said, you know, it's your fault. You put it in a paper envelope. And the response was, well, we've been sending them like that for years. And you're putting three plastic cases in a paper envelope to send through the post. Not the brightest of ideas. There we go. Sorry, rant over. You didn't really need to know all of that. I do apologise. Right, so next up we have another TW this time. Mermaid. Now, I went on a day trip to York. This was started in 2008, by the way. So was Tessellations. I went on a day trip to York and met up with a stitcher up there who had just finished her mermaid, and she brought it along for me to see, and I fell in love with it. So I decided to start it. You're gonna guess what? I've not got very much done. There we go. Again, I would do a bit of the border, do a bit of the inside, do a bit of the border, a bit of the inside. In case you haven't worked it out by now, I am a big TW fan. I have, over the years, stitched somewhere in the region of 50 odd of them. Admittedly, most of them are small magazine designs, but I do have a few of them finished about. You can probably see just here behind me. No, that way there. That, if I remember rightly, that one is Future Cast. Now, I didn't stitch him. He came to me in an exchange. But I do have the chart to stitch him for myself. Right, so next, also started in 2008, is the Red Velvet Inscription Sampler by Blue Ribbon Designs. Only mine's purple. I like purple. What can I say? Can you not tell? Purple t-shirt. Again, another one that I pull out and work on every once in a while when the urge grabs me. I was going great guns. I did the central block. And then I moved on to the letters, and every once in a while I lose momentum. Part of it was due to my eyesight. This is 40 count. But my eyesight's actually gotten better in recent years. Amazingly. I don't know how that's happened, but there you go. So I can actually see a lot easier to stitch on this now. Don't necessarily always need to use a magnifier. It's one reason I stopped working on it. So next up we have another TW. Only this time we jump up to 2016. A few years ago I had a space. Before I started doing my stitch alongs with Jeanette, I would spend my weekends on a UFO. I would pick one UFO and I would work on it till it was finished. And then I'd pick another one and work on it till, and so doing that I actually completed a lot of projects. So between 2008 and 2016 I don't have any outstanding PhDs. So this one, Pennsylvania Dutch Heart from 2016, might have been a birthday start. I don't know. I can't remember. I've slept since then. But I didn't get very far with it before it was put away. And see, it's things like this. If I pulled these out and did a little bit every day, 1 or 2 lengths every day, I'd soon get them finished. And considering that my yearly goal every year is to start, no, it's not to start, it's to finish the year with more than I started with, less than I started with. Get it the right way around, woman. I would like to finish, that's still not right. I would like to end the year with less PhDs than I started with. There we go. You'd think I'd know how to talk by now, wouldn't you, at 51 years old? Right. This was my birthday start in 2016. The chart was a gift off my daughter, but I don't think I ever printed out because it was a PDF. I don't think I ever printed out a cover picture because I frequently do that. This is Union Jack from Northern Expressions Needlework. And again, I haven't done very much, but it's all entirely, every bit is done in speciality stitches, all of it. And that's as far as I got. I did enjoy doing it, and I don't know why I put it away, but I did, as ever. So there we go. All done in dinky dyes. It's only all the colours for it, and beads. Now, I never realised they were delicas. I switched. I don't like to use seed beads. I'm a beader, and if something calls for Mill Hill, I don't use it because they're not very good beads, to be honest. Right, next up is my arc. This was bought by my ex-partner for me to stitch for an upcoming grandchild of his, and various things happened and it never got finished. But like I said, I have 5 grandsons. Only one of them has a birth sampler, so I may well finish this for one of the later ones. The youngest one is just turned 1. He turned 1 last month. So there we go. That's Bothy Threads, my arc. And that's one of them things I chop and change, because I would get so bored if I did all of that green in one go. And if I'd get fed up with all the blue, and I get fed up with all the red. So I chop and change. I do that all the time. I know me when it comes to my stitching, and I know I would get fed up. So that was started in 2016 as well. So next up, this is another TW, and it's that one there, the Victorian fan. Now, I started this as a stitch along with a friend, and said friend was known as my other mother. We were quite close, and she passed away last year. So I'm seriously thinking of pulling this out and finishing it in her memory, because she was a wonderful, wonderful woman, and she was a stitcher, and she was a TW stitcher. So that's how far I got with mine. Now, she left her stash to a group of UK girls, me included, known as the Dove Farm Stitchers, because we meet up once a year. We have a weekend away in a place called Dove Farm, and she specified that her stash was to go to the Dove Farm girls. So when I went up to collect it earlier this year, ready in time for Dove Farm, and when I brought it back, and I was going through it to sort it out, to try and condense down boxes, or I didn't have so much to take, because it literally filled my car. My car was rammed. Couldn't got anything else in there. I came across her one, so I may finish hers as well, and then go and talk to my my framer. Well, I say my framer, Chris the Nimble Thimble, to see if there's any way we could maybe do it double-sided. I don't know. It's something for the future for me to look at. Right, so next up is, was started in 2017, and it is a Cross Stitch Guild one. Quaker book. Now, this was bought for me. I started it in 2017. It was my January 1st start in 2017. It was a Christmas gift from my ex-partner, the one with the arc. And I did the first one. So I did the front cover and the page. And then we split up in about the March, I think, of 2016, 17. So I didn't want to know, because I'd always loved this design. It was always out of my budget. So he bought it as a Christmas gift. And once we'd split up, it was like, it got put away, and it's like, I can't do it, I can't face it, I don't want it. It reminds me of him and everything that went on, didn't want to know. But earlier this year, when I was UFOing with Jeanette one month, I pulled it out and made a start on the next pages. It's on a 32 count linen, Belfast unbleached linen. And it's a lovely, lovely stitch. So maybe now that so much time has passed, I will get it finished. Oh, there we go. Sorry for the rustling and the crinkling, and I keep putting things out of the bags, taking them out of the folders. Years and years I've been using these. Just these, you know, little A4 clip folder thingies, because project bags weren't really around when I started. So next up we have a DMC kit. I was just looking to see if I had something else, but I haven't. Of a sunflower. I adore sunflowers. They are my absolute favourite flower in the world. They are just so cheerful. They make me smile all the time, and if it's got a sunflower on, there's a good chance I'm going to buy it. So I don't like black fabric, so I switched it out, and I am using a piece of, what count was that on? Doesn't say. This is probably a 28 count, and it's, if I remember rightly, it's Fildas, Fildas, I think, from Sparklers. Big fan of Sparklers fabrics. Known Kate biggest part of a long time. We worked out once that we actually probably met when we were kids, because her grandma used to live in my hometown, and she used to come and spend some holidays here, and she would spend a lot of time at the local swimming pool, and as a kid I spent a lot of time at the local swimming pool. So we kind of worked out that there's a very good chance we met when we were like 8-9 years old. So there you go. This is the Linen and Threads mystery sampler from 2017. They are now Fox and Rabbit, I believe. That's as far as I got. This is 40 count sand from Swigart, and I'm doing mine in B5200, and I'm just popping a bit of colour here and there. Don't really know why I put it down, because I'm quite happy with it. It looks good. I don't know, I'll get back to it again, one of them things. I have got all the patterns printed out. I made sure I did that, otherwise I'd been up the creek without a paddle. Right, next, I used to do stitching retreats with Francis, and on one of them in possibly Scarborough, excuse me a minute, lots of us bought The World of Cross Stitching. I think one person bought it and we all were like, oh, I love that, should we do a stitch along? So I'll find the picture in a minute. Why don't you have a look at the index, you'll find it a lot quicker. So we all bought the magazine. And there we go. Made a start. And that's how far I got. It was further on than that. I discovered I'd made a huge boo-boo. And most of this had to come out, so I kind of fell out of love with it. Again, sparkles fabric, couldn't tell you what it is though, because they didn't make it. Well, I tell a lie, I will have made a note of it in the diary that I use to record my starts. Oh, excuse me while I pick that up. And it will have been noted in there, but too lazy to dig it out. I know where they all are, just couldn't be bothered to dig it out. It took me long enough to pull all of these together as it is, because I've had to move things to get some things out because they've been tucked away because they never come out. Right, next up, started in 2018, possibly as a birthday start. We have Wayward Garden by the Drawn Thread. I do apologise if I'm getting things wrong. I keep thinking I've got to, because I've got my little circle with me red square in it, because you know, recording on my iPad, and I keep thinking I've got to get things that side of it, and I haven't. It's just me being an idiot. So there we go, Wayward Garden. And I'm working this in the MPIs it's called for. Get it the right way up. There we go. This is over 1 over 2 on, I think it's 36 count straw flower. If it isn't 36 straw flower, it's 32 count bisque from Lakeside Linen. I'm not entirely sure which one it is, but it's an absolute delight to stitch. Absolutely, I love it when I work on it, which isn't often enough. It came out earlier this year for a get together at the Nimble Thimble, and I did the top section of the border. This I have to have a bit of magnification because that writing there is over 1, whereas I can see to stitch the normal over 2 with just my glasses on. I can't do over 1 without them. So that was Wayward Garden. Absolute joy, absolute joy. So that was in 2018. Also in 2018, I started Peacock Cipher by Just Now. I'm doing this in the called for silks. I was given them as a gift. And that's as far as I got. And again, it's a sparkless fabric, but I couldn't tell you what one. almost everything I stitch on a overdyed is a sparkless fabric. Big fan, but unbiased. Yeah, I remember when she'd not long since been on a course in Toronto, I think it was. She'd been on holiday and she'd done this class, and she came back and we had a get together, and she'd had all this fabric that she'd dyed, and people, and some of us were going, oh, can we buy that? Oh, can we buy that? And that's kind of how Sparkly started. Right, so next up, started in 2020. A chunky sunflower cushion kit. Didn't get very far with that either. Again, I'll pull it out again and I'll work on it. It will get finished. I've only got, well, no, I've not got projects now that I'm not going to do. I keep all of the projects. So next up, also started in 2020, is Nora Corbett's Thimble Fairy. I do have the entire set of these, and I've done Needle Fairy. I think it's Needle Fairy I've done one of them. They're all going to get stitched on the same fabric, which is Slightly Spring from Sparklers, just to link them all together. And then when I can eventually, when I've got them all finished, I will get them all framed in the same frame. That's the plan. She's in the call for colours, apart from her shoes, which was supposed to be Jelly Roll, and I didn't have it and couldn't buy it at the time when I was kitting them up. And I looked and I thought, it's a red, I'll use whatever. So, which I can't remember which one it is I'm using. I'm just using a red that I had in my stash. So there we go, that's Thimble Fairy. And this is my very first project pouch. I did a deal with this. I did a skill swap. On one of the retreats I was making some stars, and somebody else loved the stars, but tried as she could not get the hang of it. So I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a star, you make me a project bag. And she did. So there we go. This is the project bag that I made a star for. Not a bad idea really, is it? Sort of swap some skills. Oh, excuse me, I need a drink again. Right, next up, this was my 1st of January start in 2021. Circle Triangles by Ink Circles. I've done Cirque de Cirque. I did my Cirque de Cirque on Sparkly's Fire in black, because I kept seeing them all done on plain fabrics with multicoloured threads, and I thought I'm going to do it the other way around, so I did it on Fire. Now Cirque de Cirque I'm also doing as a beaded version, and I will show you that at some point. It's taken me 10 years so far and I'm only just over halfway. So this is also a sparkless fabric, and I wanted it bright, so this is a custom dye. Don't think it's got a name. Well, it hasn't got a name. That's as far as I got. That is actually quite washed out. It's far, far more vibrant. Oh, there you go. If I go like that, look. This down here is far more accurate. That's blowing it out, but yeah, do that. That's much more accurate. It's still not brilliant, but it's more like it. So There's a couple of others of them. There's a heart one and a, I can't remember the other shape, but I will eventually, again, do them all. So next up is my birthday start from 2021. And I don't think I printed it out because I bought it as a PDF. I was so happy. So I was absolutely ecstatic when Cat Roach from Cross-Eyed Cat, yeah, Cross-Eyed Cat, started an Etsy shop and made available some of her other charts. Years ago I had stitched Triangularity of hers and adored it, and I wanted to get Labyrinth and Maze and couldn't get them here in the UK at all. You know, you're talking 10 years or so ago, things were much harder to get hold of. Never managed to get them. When they popped up occasionally on a selling site, I never managed to get hold of them. So when she started her Etsy shop, I jumped. So I started Labyrinth. Again, sparkles fabric, couldn't tell you which one without looking. Again, it's quite bright here today. We'll pull that, that's a bit better, a little bit better. And in case you're wondering, this is just so I know which way's the top, because it's obviously, Labyrinth is a circular design. And what little bit I've done, I really enjoyed doing. And I keep looking at these things and I go, yeah. So, and it's been done in all the called for colours, but again, as I say, I know it's sparkly fabric, but I couldn't tell you which one. And then, okay, we're getting up to date now. I started this as my 1st of January start in 2022. I love giraffes. Absolutely love giraffes. So that's, and this is where I am up to with it. Again, it's another one of them ones. For me, a UFO is one that I've started before the end of the previous year. So anything that I started before the 31st of December last year qualifies as a UFO. So if I do a UFO with Jeanette, it has to be one that was already started. It can't be one I've started this year and not worked on. It doesn't count in my book. That's my opinion. So this is one that frequently, if I'm doing a UFO with Jeanette, I pull this one out. And as you can see, I've not really got that much more left to do. It's really quite mindless to do because it's all big blocks of colour. Let me show you the edge. For Christmas in 21, my partner got me a sewing machine. So when it came to over sewing the edges, I'd normally blanket stitch my edges, but I just played around and used all the different embroidery stitches that are on the machine just for the hell of it. Why not? I wanted to play with the machine, and so that's what I did. I just used cheap thread, you know those, you know when you buy a sewing machine, or not so much these days, but you used to. When you bought a sewing machine, you were given a load of little teeny tiny bobbins of cheap thread. So if I want to practice something, I'll use those rather than using the good stuff. It's not that I'm a cheapskate, but I don't see why I should use the good stuff. This is another one I do not have a picture for because I haven't printed it out. And this is the this is from BDL Cross Stitch. And this is Jolly Old Chap Gnome. So it's a gonk, and he's stood beside phone box with his bowler hat on. this got put aside because I had a model come in from Doodlecraft to do, so they always take priority, so he got put aside. But again, sparkles fabric, I will get back to him. He's a lot of fun to stitch. Bit boring at times. That's why I started on the foam box, because I was getting so fed up with grey. Really fed up with grey. Right. I'm going to skip the next one for the simple reason it needs to be frogged. It was a stitch along with Jeanette, and I made a humongous mistake, and the entire top link has to come out. So it's been put away in disgust. It's hiding at the moment. So next up is, I started this last year. It was going to be my birthday start, my 50th birthday start, but my girls gave me 50 gifts on the run up to my birthday, and the first gift was a chart of my, at the time, 4 grandsons. So I started that on my birthday, and I stitched that and framed that. That was done within a few days. So this was a belated 50th birthday start, and it is Quaker Ball, and I am doing the middle size there. Now I'm not sticking to the colour scheme. I am literally just pulling out that way, pulling out what colour I feel like pulling out. This is all the same. It's one of the DMC over dyed Colaris or something like that. I can't remember. Hang on a second, I'll get it. Oh. Come on. There you go, 4045. So that's what I'm doing all the outer edges in. No, it's that way around. There you go. And those, so far, those are the only 2 I've done. It's all hexagons and squares. And so I've just pulled out assorted things. So this is a needle necessities. This is a needle necessities. But I've got loads of different ones, and I've just literally, and I've gone, okay, I'll do that one. Oh yeah, I'm going to use that colour next. That's what I've decided how I'm going to do it. A lot of fun. But I've not been able to touch it for quite a while, which is a shame because I love it. So now we're on to this year's starts. So this was my January 1st start this year. Stitching sampler from Bothy Threads. It comes with 32 count, which is great because it means I don't have to change the fabric. Not a fan of Ada, not at all. I do stitch on it, but only for love quilts. Not a fan. But that again, my personal opinion. I know a lot of people like to stitch on Ada, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just not for me. And that's how far I got. Very enjoyable. And to do, see, one like this border here is one of those ones I'll do a bit and then I'll do something else and then I'll go back to it because I don't mind backstitch. But to do all of that border in one go would drive me mad. Can't be doing with that. Can't be doing. So I break it up. That's how I find it easier to do stuff. Just break stuff up a little bit as I go. So next is a stitch along with Jeanette that we started earlier this year. That a few weeks back we both came to the conclusion that for one reason or another we weren't enjoying it as much as we expected, so we decided we were going to put it aside for a while. That's how far we go. I've made a couple of changes on mine. Yes, I've been back stitching as I go. I've made the head of the pin there gold metallic. Kind of wish I'd done the needle in metallic as well, but I didn't. Or I should say the pin in metallic. And then I did the needle in a silver metallic. It's a lot of fun. It's a really, really nice stitch, but for one reason or another, and both of us struggled with these two mice here. We both struggled to get those two mice stitched. The number of times that we were both plagued by the frog. So let's say we both kind of decided, mutual agreement, we were going to put it aside for a while. Whether we'll go back to it as a stitch along, I don't know. We might just decide to go back and work on it individually as and when we're ready. I love the design, but when you start getting to the point of you're avoiding stitching it, you're finding excuses to not stitch it, it's kind of time to sort of go, yeah, something's not right here. Right, next up is a very rare piece on Ada. This is for love quilts. I stitch a lot of squares for love quilts. They are the thing I take with me when I look after my grandsons on a Monday. They get worked on in the car, they get worked on when I'm going. We went away to Lincolnshire in August and I was doing a Dalek. So I did the Dalek then. So I do quite a lot of stitches for love quilts. Now, if you don't know about love quilts, they are a charity that produce quilts for sick and terminally ill children under the age of 18. It's all done voluntarily. You will get a sign up. You're allowed to sign up for 5 squares at a time. So you've got your 5 squares. It can be anything. I have done Dalek, I've done Star Wars, I've done a Harry Potter, I'm doing trains, I've done other trains, I've done Mickey Mouse. So I'm stitching things I wouldn't normally stitch. A lot of the charts, like this one, are only available in the files. So, and they're only for love quilts use. So you might love underground trains, but you can't have the chart, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. But I will still show them. If it's a chart that I've got from somewhere else that it's widely available, I'll let you know. But if it's from the files, it's from the files, and there's nothing I can do to help you get hold of a copy of it, I'm afraid. So that is my current love quilt square. That is due at the end of October. So you sign up, you've got a good time. I've just signed up to do an elephant. That is due at the end of December. So you get a good 3-4 months, usually about 4 months with a deadline, and there's always a deadline. So I'll never sign up to do Disney Princess though, because I don't like faces. So that's my current love quilt. Right, next up is my birthday start from this year. I don't have a colour picture because I bought it as a PDF, so I didn't feel the need to print the picture out because I didn't know I was going to do a floss tube. So this is Flea Market Flowers, and it has been an absolute joy to stitch. I didn't know what it was called at the time I first saw it. I was at the Nimble Thimble in April with a group of stitchers, and this was sitting on the floor framed, and I saw it and I pointed it out to Jeanette, and we both fell in love with the design. Didn't have a clue what it was called. I never thought no more about it. And then somebody posted it on stitching group on Facebook. And I'm like, I know the name. So I went in search and bought it. So Jeanette started it with me on my birthday. She's doing hers over 1. Mine is on just 32 count Murano from Zweigart. Most of my stitching's on 32 count. Absolute joy. Lovely, lovely stitch. Now we're getting into the project bags. This one is from Be Crafty. I just sent her a message and asked her what she had, and she's pictures and stuff like that. I'm having that one. And it has a little bee on it. Get it in the right place, woman. There you go, little bee. She's on Facebook. There you go. I'm very good at that whole up close thing, am I? Absolute joy to stitch, that is. Right, next up is this. Stitch. Buttons. It comes completely kitted up, which I didn't realise when I bought it. So I have the little Scrabble stand that comes with it. Let's take it out. So there's your little Scrabble stand, it comes with it. You get a reel of silk. Just beautiful to stitch with, absolutely lovely. And it's called, hang on, put my glasses on to read that. Old Maid of the Lake, and it's from handdyedfibres.com. That's the dyer. And this is where I'm at. Now, I had got most of that tea done, discovered a mistake and had to rip it all out. Not impressed. It's over 1 on 32 count, so I can only do a little bit each day. If it's a nice light bright day, I can just about manage without magnifier. If it's a bit dull, I need to get the magnifier out and work under the magnifier. So I'm halfway through, as you can see, and I've got my buttons all ready to go. I decided to go for the metal ones rather than the plastic ones. So I'm looking forward to getting that finished. It's fun, it's lovely, and so nice to work on. And as I say, the fabric comes with it. It's 32 count Silver Moon Lugana. Comes in the kit. And that's in my hobby gift bag that I bought from Cotton Crafts. Right, next up, Christmas in July. Cotton Crafts did a stitch along of a snowman. Again, I haven't printed out the full colour picture, and I didn't get very far. It's only tiny. That's like 1/4. It came out in 4, one release a week, and I thought, and we knew what it looked like beforehand, because I don't really do mystery. I don't want to spend money. I know that makes me sound mean, but I don't want to spend money or time on something that I may not like in the end. Whereas this one, we were given the picture up front. This is what it's going to look like, and you got the charts. You got that was number 1, then you got number 2, number 3, number 4. That is on a piece of Oops fabric. I don't know, it's an Oops fabric. You can see the dye spots on it. From a company called Country Stitches. They were in New Zealand, and I bought the fabric 20 years ago. Bought the Oops pack 20 years ago, I don't think they're still going. Very, very much doubt that they are still going. And last but not least is the project that takes up, or will be taking up, most of my time for the next 6 months. At some point, I will reach a point where I will not be showing it, because this is a commission piece. This is a piece that somebody, a gentleman, commissioned of his late wife, and asked if, he asked Doodlecraft to do it, excuse me, and asked them to stitch it. And she said, I can't do that, but I can put you in touch with somebody. What? So, as I say, at some point it will reach a point where I will not share it, because it's personal to him. But at the moment, you know, it's just background. So this here, that bit there, that's a hat. I've got a couple of rows to do on this side, and that's the full width of it. And I am at, out of 61,000, I think it's 61,123 stitches, I am at just over 4,500. If I can do 300 stitches every day I work on it, I will have it done in 200 days. I worked it out. And again, it's a face. I don't do faces. But when you're being paid to do it, you do it. So I pretty much already know I'm going to do all of this, and I'm going to come down, and I'm going to come across the bottom, and I'll come up the side, and I'll do a hat, and I'll do a face will be the last thing to do. I don't like faces. I discovered this a long, long time ago. I don't like stitching faces because I think they're looking at me. And I know it's weird, and I know it's silly, but there we go. I don't like stitching faces. So there we go. We're all up to date on my PhDs, potential happy dancers. Feel free to pinch PhDs. So I've got a couple of recent finishes to show you. So on Friday, my partner and I went fishing. He fishes. I sit in the countryside, in the peace and the quiet, listening to the birds and the ducks laughing at him. And I finish this. This is Antique Spools and Scissors from Shakespeare Peddler. I borrowed the chart off Jeanette. They had it done in Belsoir, I think it was, a brown, and I thought, I don't like that. So I literally pulled out all the dark browns, blacks, dark greys, and I thought spools wouldn't normally be black, they'd be brown, so I pulled out dark browns and things like that. It was really good for stash busting, because this one and this one came from the tail end, literally tail ends of some bark, Weeks Dye Works bark. This is claret, again, using up all the little bits and pieces. Really, really nice to stitch. The fabric is an oops piece. I'm pretty sure it's an oops piece, and I'm pretty sure it's slightly nutty from Sparklers. She kind of thinks I'm right when I posted. I said, I think this is what it is, when I posted in the group. But it was so nice to do. So it will get made into a pillow at some point. I don't know when, but it will get made into a pillow at some point. I need to kind of excavate my sewing machine, because my room has had my late friend stash in it for some time. So my craft room's a bit of a tip at the minute. So, and then, as I say, because we got fed up with the make do amend, it was my turn to pick. We take it in turns, Jeanette and I, to pick projects. So I picked Erica Michael's Stitch All the Things. So we started it on the 19th of August. So that took 3 days of stitching. So I finished that last Saturday. Mine is on some 36 count Edinburgh linen, and I use silky threads, and I just did my own conversion. I kind of looked at the picture and went, yeah, that'll do, that works, that works, that works, that works. Although this one I did have to buy a different one because the original one was far too pale. Now, I used to write a blog, and I was Caring Stitcher. So if you ever used to read Blogger, I was the Caring Stitcher. I only stopped writing my blog because I stopped using a desktop, and the app for an iPad was absolutely useless. Couldn't do anything. There is a point to this. But one of the things that happened on Blogger was this thing called Gifted Gorgeousness. So on the 15th of the month, you posted anything that you'd stitched that was a gift. You know, where what you used, whether it was the fabric, the threads, the chart, the kit was a gift, or you were stitching it as a gift. So my point to all of that is that the fabric was a birthday gift of a very good friend this year for my birthday. So 36 count Edinburgh linen, she bought me the piece, and it was just absolutely perfect for me to cut in half. So that's the main pillow, and then on the other half, which I finished yesterday, as did Jeanette, is the berry. Now, I have never made a berry. My finishing skills aren't brilliant, but I want to have a go at a berry. So again, I just used the colours that I had. I've used Sulky 12 weight. I think I've already said that. Now, the needle in the pattern is done in DMC 03, and I don't have a light grey Sulky, so I decided that my needle was going to be a gold-plated one. So I have a gold-plated needle on mine. So that, again, at some point, will get made up. I want to track down some wool felt, some decent wool felt. I do know somebody in the UK that's got some, so I need to get in touch with her and ask her if I send her some snippets, will she match it up for me? Best guess, so I can, because I'd like it to match as much as possible. So watch this space. And last but not least, Jeanette and I will be starting a new stitch along today, and it's her turn to pick, and she picked this. Erica Michaels, the embroideress. Now, we're doing an advent this year between the two of us. We had talked about buying one. We'd both sort of thought, ooh, quite fancy doing that, and we were thinking of getting the Caterpillar cross stitch one. But when it was announced that they were, I'm sorry, I'm not looking in the right place. I'm looking at my reflection in the thing instead of straight ahead. I'm looking at my reflection. So I'm kind of looking sideways, and I do apologise for that. We both looked at the Caterpillar cross stitch one, and then when they were announcing it, they said that there would be embroidery in it, and we both kind of went, I don't want to do embroidery. I've got some cheap embroidery kits upstairs, you know, they're like £2 from the works, to have a go, but I don't want to spend £100 on an advent calendar to be given something that there's a good chance I won't use it. So we had a discussion, and we're going to do an advent calendar for each other this year. And I found out this morning that she bought this for me as one of the gifts, not knowing that I'd already bought it, or rather not remembering that I'd already bought it, because I bought it at the Nimble Thimble when she was with me. She stood beside me when I bought it. So when I've finished this, I'm going to go make a cup of coffee. I'm going to tidy up the mess that is the big pile of project bags on the floor. I'm going to put everything away, and I am going to go and cut some fabric and start this, and I will be doing mine in Sulky. I've got the black and the orange, they've used Wheats Dye Works whiskey, but I'm going to use the orange that I did my needle in on there. So I'm using that orange for mine. I just wanted an, oh pardon me, a nice warm golden colour. There we go. Right, so we're done. An hour and 10 minutes, not too bad. Thought it'd be a bit longer than that. Thank you for sticking with me. I do apologise for waffling at times, but it's the way it goes. If you liked what you saw, please do like, subscribe, leave me a comment. If you've got any questions, leave me a comment and I will try and remember to answer them. What I'll do is I'll write them down, because I know my memory. If I don't write them down, I'll never remember them. I will do my best to answer any questions you have. And I will see you in a couple of weeks' time. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, and happy stitching.